Hi, everyone. I'm Denise O'Malley, and I'm the founder of Udefine Wellness. And today I have with me Brooke Chesnut, who is one of our providers on our Udefine Wellness Network panel. And Brooke, welcome to this interview, and thank you for taking time to sit and talk with me for a few minutes.
Thank you, Denise. It's a pleasure to be here and visit with you.
Well, this is going to be a very interesting interview simply because you are a little bit different than some of the other wellness providers that we have out there. So can you take just a quick moment and tell me, give me a synopsis as to what it is that Brooke does?
Well, I think Brooke would approach wellness in the workplace from a different perspective.
Okay.
And I believe that the perspective that I'm coming from is really focusing on how to intertwine and how to get at all these different generations in the workforce. How do you get them to cooperate, communicate, build relationships, which would reduce stress and increase productivity in the workforce?
How have things changed in the workforce? Because I know we have a new generation that's come in, but I mean, what's going on that you're seeing?
Well, here are the trends that are happening right now. And you first have to look at, well, myself, I'm a baby boomer, and all of us baby boomers out there, if you remember in 2008, 2009, and 2010, we suffered a huge recession. And all of our retirement plans, 401ks, our IRAs were crushed. And so we had to go back into the workforce. And we've been doing that for the last 6 to 7 years. And quite frankly, we've done a great job in building up our retirement. But now the baby boomers love their work. They have purpose, they have meaning, and they're not leaving the workforce as fast as we thought they would. So now the generation behind us, which is Gen X, and the generation behind them, the millennials, are wondering, why aren't you people leaving? We need to get your positions. We want to get a promotion, and we can't because the boomers are continuing to work. So what that means for an employer is keep your boomers because they're valuable, but look at Gen X and millennials and giving them mentorship, leadership, and groom them for when the time is right. Because in the next 5 to 7 years, the Xers and the millennials are going to have a great opportunity to succeed.
Wow. So when you go in and you work with an employer, what types of things are you doing?
Well, we want to interview the employer. We want to find out what are your biggest pain points. And when the CEOs around the country, 24 were surveyed by the Harvard Business Review, their top number one challenge today is talent management, which means a lot of different things.
Okay.
Primarily, it's how do we identify the best talent? How do we attract the best talent? And then most importantly, how do we retain the best talent? Because when you're dealing with 3 different generations, every one of them has a different style, different values, and different expectations. So what I do is I help identify the pain points because there might be some that are similar in generations, some may not be. And once those are identified, then I would put together a program of how to facilitate, measure, and improve the employee, communication, workforce, the productivity within their jobs.
So what kind of results have you seen?
What we've seen is that companies have decided to move away from the old paradigm and look at a new paradigm where instead of having the corporate structure and the silos, they allow employees to become, as we say, playing on a lattice where they can be in all different types of different departments in a company. So instead of being only in accounting, now these younger workers can touch materials management, customer service, maybe some finance, maybe some warehouse, but they can see all these different parts of the company, and that allows them to be a much broader based employee, giving them a lot more opportunity for success.
Wow. So you work predominantly in the Metro Denver area. You said to me earlier that you also are traveling and helping companies across the country, the world. Where are you working?
Yeah, well, I spent some time earlier this year down in Alabama working for the industrial groups down there that do a lot of work with oil and gas. And they are having all kinds of, challenges. And so we did a 2-hour, they wanted me to come and do a keynote for their conference, but I said, you know what, how about if we do this? Let me do a 2-hour workshop seminar with all of your people in your membership. And then after that, we will then go and do the keynote, because when you bring those two facets together, they can learn, they can practice, and then they can network with all of each other, all the different folks there, which brings much more meaning to the work that we're doing.
Wow. So what size groups do you normally work with?
I like to work with groups between 50 and 100.
Okay.
But they can be as small as 25. It really depends on the organization.
Okay.
And the bigger the organization, the more opportunities we have to get, sets of maybe 50 or 100, whatever, in a room. But all of our workshops and seminars for these companies are interactive. In other words, we're getting feedback from 4, possibly 5 different generations in the room at the same time.
Wow.
And I must tell you, Denise, to facilitate the discussions between these different generations and how they feel and what they want to communicate turns out to be very interesting.
How so?
Well, sometimes these millennials feel like they're expecting to be in leadership right away.
Yeah.
Because they want to make an impact right away. And so they feel that, yet the Gen Xers, who I feel are the most valuable, they're the smallest group, they're really getting a tough go because they have no place to go. And so what you're hearing from each one of them, how do I, position myself, not just today, but for the next 3 to 5 years,
wow,
to be successful in this organization. And so that takes a lot of give and take from not just their generation, Gen X, but millennials and then the boomers. So it's really a nice mixture.
So what kind of a time commitment is involved with an employer? Because it seems to me that you're changing, and when you're changing a whole new paradigm, it's an investment of time. So how much time are you seeing that employers need to get those new practices into place?
We like to start out with a 30, 60, and 90-day program.
Okay.
And we start off in that sequence because what we want to do is implement perhaps no more than 3 different objectives, concepts, ideas that we want to roll out. We want to make sure all the employees understand them, but also the directors, the senior level managers, and the C-level executives understand this is what we're doing, and then we're going to measure it after 30, 60, and 90 days. And then from there, if we see improvement, we can design a plan to go for 6 months. If we don't, then we go back and find out what we need to do better.
Okay, so just for clarification purposes, it's 30 days, evaluate, another 30 days, evaluate, another 30 days, as opposed to here's a 30-day program. We're going to be testing and implementing new thought patterns, and then we're going to do it for 60 days, which would be a total of 3 months there. So it's not stacked on top of each other. It's 30 and 30 and 30. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's awesome. So curiosity, how did you get into this field?
Well, I spent 33 years in corporate America. And I started off just as a salesperson, and I was lucky enough to get a mentor who really helped me. And as I started to get really good at sales, I moved out of just the selling role and into a leadership role. And I discovered early on that it wasn't about the sales or the commission, it was about the relationships. Not only in your own company, but with customers.
Right.
So I started to recruit and retain and, really mentor young, talented people in the business world back in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, with great success. today, people my age don't want anything to do with those younger people. So why is that? That's wrong. Because by the year 2025, we will have no choice, Denise.
Yeah.
3 out of every 4 workers will be from the millennial generation. So my goal was to bring awareness to not only my generation, because they need help, but also to the younger people and say, hey, this is why these boomers are still here. You need to understand that they can also be helpful to you.
Wow.
So that's why I got into it. And for some reason today, more than ever, more and more people are asking about, hey, I have this problem, I have this issue, can you help us with this? Can you help us with this? And it's morphed into this talent piece, trying to help companies find the right employees. What's your talent brand? Do you have a brand? Because if you don't, you're not going to find talent.
Right. Right. Wow. This has been a great overview of what it is that you do. Tell me what you'd like to add to this that you want people to know about.
Well, what I want people to know is that everything that they're challenged with in the workforce today can be solved. There is a solution. There are great ways to do it. And I've got, in my seminars and workshops, I've got between 10 to 15 different concepts, processes, procedures that they may have tried and haven't worked, or may need to try and implement a little differently. But what we have seen is we've seen it work and we've seen it make sense. And it takes a courageous leader to implement a new paradigm of leadership, because that's what needs to happen. Because when it starts at the top, it will filter down and they're going to leave a legacy for years to come. Or if they don't choose to integrate the younger people, they run the risk of possibly becoming irrelevant. And we know what companies have become irrelevant, right?
Yeah, they're gone.
Kodak, Blockbuster, just to name a few. But what I'm saying is they have a choice, and we can help them with that, with making those choices and make it successful for them.
Brooke, this has been fabulous information. Let me share your contact information here so that if anybody wishes to reach you, this is how you would go ahead and find Brooke. And he, as the screen says, he works mainly in the Denver metro area, but as you heard, he works everywhere and is definitely someone who can assist with retaining your talent, attracting new talent, and surviving this environment that we're in with the 5 generations in the workplace. So, Brooke, I want to thank you for taking time to talk with me today, and I appreciate all your insight and wish you the greatest success.
Denise, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here with you, and I look forward to continued success for You Define Wellness.
Great.